wanted Taryn to go first. It's really hard to put you guys in order, and I think I shared that with you guys. But Taryn really, one of the reasons why I said, oh, we have to choose Taryn is because you were really scared to do this. And that is an EO thing, right? We're going to jump out without a parachute, but we're all here because we are your parachute. So our first speaker is a champion for change and believes in outdoing the ordinary. Her story is proof. Please welcome my new friend, CEO of AV Images, who is doing all the tech tonight, Taryn Gavagan Bozzo. Thank you.
I think you're the only person to get that right off the bat, so congratulations. Aloha. I am Taryn Gavagan Bozzo, and I am both excited and terrified to share my story with you all tonight. A survey of those who know me well would result in 100 different descriptions, but day to day, I'm best known as mama, wife, sister, friend, daughter, CEO, business owner, and jack of most trades. Sharing my story, totally not my thing. I'm more of a doer than a talker. But if there's one thing that's been proven to me time and time again, it's that leaning into discomfort and diving into the unknown is usually the best thing for me. So here I am. I am terrified. I am uncomfortable. Not exactly sure how this is going to turn out, but I'm excited for the experience. As I usually am for everyone I meet, I was a surprise for my parents, who were in their early 20s when they had me. My dad, originally from Maui, youngest of 5, was a free, restless aloha spirit. My mom, originally from Danville, eldest of 2, first-generation Dutch-Indonesian, was more on the conservative side. And when I think about my childhood, I consider it a great childhood. I was loved, cared for, safe, always included. I was also the first child and first grandchild on both sides, so kind of had all the attention all the time. I was raised in Dublin, not far from here, and between my parents, on and off relationship, never really knew when they were actually going to be together. And renting different houses throughout Dublin all the time, the idea of home was a bit elusive for me. As in, by the age of 10, I had lived in 11 different houses. But I did find consistency. I found consistency in school, my friends, grandparents' homes, and being outside. I was always playing outside, and even today, being out in the sun and the fresh air just brings me so much calm and solitude. When I was 8, my parents got another surprise and got pregnant with my first sister and decided they'd make our family official by getting married. Listen, even at such a young age, I knew this was not a good idea. I mean, hello, I had known them more apart than together. I literally threw up during their wedding ceremony. Yeah, it's funny now, but if that's not a sign, I don't know what is. My dad was busy building AV Images, the audiovisual production company that I now run. And he was starting to travel a lot. As soon as my sister was born, I defaulted to helping my mom raise a baby, even though in hindsight, I was one. And having a 9-year-old now myself, it's wild to think that I was left home during the summer to care for my infant sister, who was 10 months old at the time. Within 5 years, AV Images was a $20 million company with offices throughout the country. My dad was gone at least 85% of the time. I had 5 and 2-year-old sisters. I was getting ready to enter high school, and my parents had finally purchased a home, my 13th residence. Unfortunately, that would be the last house that we all lived in as a family, go figure. Now, I could go into a whole sob story about my parents divorcing 2 years into our forever home, but let's be real. I saw this coming from miles away, so we're just gonna move right on past that. Plus, I was 16 and a junior in high school. Like, I had so many more important things going on, or so I thought. And as it can be for 16-year-olds, life was challenging. I didn't have a great relationship with my dad because he was gone all the time. My parents' relationship and communication was a hot mess. And even though I'd always been an honor roll student, academics started to take a back seat. As also happens sometimes at this age, I experimented and explored weed, alcohol, sex, toxic relationships. It all became a form of distraction. And then I fit a lot in between the ages of 17 and 23. Graduated high school, got married, started my career in local government working for the city of Dublin, got divorced, moved 7 more times, mended my relationship with my dad, and then, thank the heavens, met the person who would become so incredibly pivotal in the years ahead. I'm talking about you, Christopher. November 2010. Chris and I had just gotten married in September, and after an incredible wedding and honeymoon, we're slowly settling into newlywed life. On November 12th, out of nowhere, my dad dies from heart failure at the age of 48. Now, this man was not a pillar of health by any means, but he was just larger than life. He connected with everyone he met, and he had an aloha spirit that made him seem infinite. After my parents' divorce, he had worked really hard at mending our relationship, and up to his death, we were incredibly close. We cultivated a relationship even I never thought possible, and he really became a guiding light for me. I remember walking to his bed in the emergency room knowing he was gone, physically feeling as though my world were turning upside down, wondering, how is this happening? He was just walking me down the aisle. I just saw him a few days ago. Had I known that that was the last hug I would give him, I would have held him just a little bit longer. I was devastated. We were devastated. I knew at that moment that my world had turned over. Nothing was going to be the same. Naturally, my dad, being the free spirit that he was, had no directives, no trust, no will. The man did not even have a cocktail napkin with notes written on it, okay? Nothing. AV Images had been severely impacted by the dot-com and 2008 recessions, but it was still hanging on, a true testament to my team, by the way. My uncle, my dad's oldest brother, who was CFO at the time, assumed a position as CEO. And he also became executor of my dad's estate, which had to go through probate. Mind you, my dad's estate had minimal assets except for the company of which he had full ownership. I was 25 and navigating a severe and aggressive level of grief. I also had absolutely no interest in AV Images. Everything was a reminder of my dad and the fact that he wasn't here anymore. Newly developed prefrontal cortex, not handling any of it well. Fortunately, my uncle had to involve me at some level as the only adult heir to my dad's estate. He had to involve me at some level of what was going on with the company. Because of my incoherent state of grief, my new husband, Chris, really became the driver of taking the information that my uncle was giving us about the company and questioning it. Over time, this led to me caring more about the business than I originally felt I had capacity for. The next 5 years resulted in my uncle manipulating information and completely taking advantage of his positions as CEO and estate executor. Through probate, he overhauled the ownership of the company, ultimately stripping me and my sisters of majority ownership, all in exchange for nothing. I fought through my position as the company's board chair to prove that my uncle, who I then started referring to as my dad's brother, I fought to prove that he was not making decisions in the company's best interest. He decided to leave, shocker, last minute and with little communication, and on the day I was due with my second child, found myself in the conference room telling all employees that as board chair, I would be stepping in as interim CEO. But I would be out for a minute while I took care of a little something. Lucky for us, my son was 4 days late. So here I was, 33 years old with a 2.5-year-old daughter and a newborn son on what was supposed to be my maternity leave, deciding to leave my upward trajectory, cush 12-year career at the City of Dublin to go run a company that was barely mine and an industry that I had no experience in. Discomfort, check. Unknown, check. Leaning into all of it would become my superpower. For the next 2 years, I learned as much as I could about our business, our clients, my team. I traveled a lot. I also got to uncover a lot of really fun things left from our previous CEO. And I worked really, really hard to get business and our books back on track. We finally had profits in the bank. Things were looking great. Most importantly, I had made the right decision. I was really looking forward to the years ahead. Enter a global pandemic. Now, for those who don't know, the live events industry was shut down for a solid 2 years. We went from 7 million in revenue in 2019 to under 1 million in 2021. Had it not been for me stepping in when I did, getting our finances back on track, an incredibly dedicated and resourceful team, who's back there, one of them at least. 2 rounds of PPP. Anyone remember PPP? Oh, it was a really fun time. And a lot of therapy on my part. There's no way that we would still be operational today. The world had stopped and presented me with an opportunity to work on healing my trauma and to find some semblance of closure in my grief, which oddly enough came with the death of our beloved Rottweiler, Koa. I worked really hard on processing everything that had gotten me to this point, and more importantly, discover the tools that I had to continue building the best version of myself. In his last years, my dad rarely gave advice. He asked more questions than he gave answers, guiding me to listen to myself and find my own answers. It was this lesson in intuition and trusting me that drove me to recommit this new iteration of Taryn to the future of AV Images, my dad's legacy, and my team. I was going to do things differently, and I was going to do them my way if we were to make it through the pandemic. Needless to say, work came flooding back. And through a lot of persistence and courage, some very, very tough conversations, and a lot of listening, thank you, Dad, AV Images is thriving, and I am more committed than ever. Today, and this only became official very recently, I am most proud of having worked to bring majority ownership of the company back to where it should have been 15 years ago when our dad died, to me and my sisters. So what has this all taught me in my almost 40 years of life? Be persistent, be patient, and have grace. Good things happen over time and never all at once. Live and breathe good intentions, but always know they will usually result in a very humbling experience. Listen, observe, be curious, be vulnerable. This is how we connect and understand. This is how we do better. Most importantly, the biggest lesson of this talk, lean into discomfort, dive into discomfort and the unknown. Do it scared, do it fast. I can tell you from experience, time and time again, still working on this, that avoiding the fear and the discomfort only amplifies it more. Guys, I did it. I did it. Oh my God, I was terrified. I survived. I'm still alive. Thank you all for allowing me to be vulnerable tonight and share my story. Whether we've met before, whether we're just meeting tonight, I very much look forward to sharing more with you in the future. Mahalo nui. Ahui ho.
Thank you, Taryn.
You did it. You did it. It is such relief. And we're going to talk about all that relief later. But how relieved do you feel right now, Taryn? You did it. Well, thank you. Thank you.